Today, we're going to talk about the worst Chevy V8 ever made. And it is not the first gen small block. This right here is a 1986 AM General 6.2 naturally aspirated indirect injection diesel. See by the stamping? Or at least it came out of a 1986. I'm not really sure what year this motor is. But it's a very interesting motor. Made from 1986 to maybe, they might even still be making them for military use, but this is the engine that ran in the Humvees and Chevrolet medium duty trucks, you know, the dualies, the 2500s, the K15s and all that stuff. This one came out of a K10 custom 4x4 out of a South Carolina State service vehicle. Let me tell you why this is the worst motor Chevrolet ever made. Up until maybe 2007, I believe it was, the 6.2 and the 6.5, the casting was I don't know if it was too thin or the common consensus seems to be that the casting lacked nickel, which caused the cylinder heads and engine blocks to crack really bad. Cylinder heads usually died from high exhaust gas temperature, and the blocks usually died from failed harmonic balancers or imbalanced rotating assemblies, which really just killed them off. That's why you don't see a lot of 80s and 90s Chevrolet dually trucks on the road, because they are paired with probably the worst engine ever. And that's in terms of reliability. But there's kind of two schools of thought on it. So some people will tell you that this is probably the best diesel engine ever made. Those people will kind of be right. The reason why this engine was so mass produced was because it had exceptional fuel mileage for being a 6.2 liter diesel engine of the time. Keep in mind this came out in 1986 or 84 or something. The engine made less power than the Chevrolet Big Block of the same year, but boasted almost twice the fuel mileage at about 70% of the power. You're talking about in the 20s mile per gallon. However, this engine does have one thing that really killed it and made it notorious for really going bad, was the spun crank. You see, the engine usually has a injection pump that sits right here in the valley, and it's mechanically injected, driven by a gear on the crankshaft, which, if the engine spins and you have fuel coming into the high pressure pump, it will run. Now, the reason why that's bad is because if your engine runs out of oil, it will not shut off and it will destroy itself. Unlike the modern Huey diesel engines, like the Ford Powerstroke 6.0s, the 6.7s, all those new stuff. I think even Cummins has gone over to a Huey injection system, which uses the oil pressure itself to fire in the injector. So if you lose oil, your engine doesn't run. Anyways, let me tell you what I'm doing with this one. So I purchased this engine for $75. Found on a Facebook Marketplace because I just wanted to see how they worked. But after pulling the heads, I found this crack right here, which basically makes the heads worthless because it costs as much to fix them as it does to buy a new set of heads. However, I happen to own a welding machine. See, this one's kind of pitted. So I'm going to attempt to pull these valve seats, weld it, have new seats inserted, and have it machined I'm going to attempt to build this engine for less than $1,000 and see if we can not, one, get it to run, and two, maybe even sell it or throw it in another project. It may go in my Cherokee, or it may even go in my Mercury Cougar. And let me know what you think in the comments on that one. Anyways, so this is probably going to turn into a how not to build an engine series, because I think that would be kind of fun. And we'll see how it goes. I've just put out one of the injectors, and you can see it was a pretty nasty in there. Might have to sandblast this with some walnuts or something to get the pre-chamber cleaned out. Alright, I got the rest of the injectors out, and they are just as bad as number 1 over there, or actually I think that's number 8, but I've got this bucket of EGR cleaner. It's I think it's Terra Clean. Good stuff. I got it from a friend of mine who sells it. A good old buddy, snake salesman. So what I'm going to do, you can actually already see where I've dumped this side in, and what that EGR cleaner stuff does is it basically breaks down everything that's made out of oil. So liquid oil, carbon deposits. Like here, I've got, this is a set of pistons. This is the number 7 and 8 out of the block. This one actually soaked overnight, and it's just about as clean as can be. You know, if I took a wire wheel or a brush to that, it'd probably just be as shiny as it was from factory. And this is one, I haven't washed this one off, but it's been soaking for a little bit. The whole piston was covered in carbon, and now after wiping it down, this one's been sitting for a couple hours, and after wiping it down, it's already almost clean versus being covered in that Black City diesel oil. So I'm gonna take this head, or this half of it, stick it in there, and then I've got a plan, right? So once all the oil and stuff comes out, the rust becomes apparent. So what I'm gonna do is I've got this other bucket over there, and I'm going to fill it up with water, and we're gonna mix in some Evapor Rust. Sponsor me, I need that. I use this stuff all the time. So we're gonna see how well that works to clean off the cylinder head. And what I'm really hoping is that it'll get into the coolant passages, because they are full of rust and goop. And hopefully it'll also, the EGR cleaner will get some of this carbon out of the port, so I don't have to take a wire wheeler or a flapper in there. Anyways, once I get it fully cleaned, then I'm going to take it to the machine shop and see if they can take out these valve seats, which I was under the impression this motor used just the cast iron for its valve seats. I don't know if these are cast iron or if these are aftermarket inserts. I think they are inserts, because you see this little lip right here. So I'm not really sure what I've got in front of me. I mean, these might not even been the heads that came with that motor originally, so we'll see. But yeah, let me show you the rest of the motor. All right, so when I got this motor, it was locked up, right? I don't know why that's green, but it appears that it was locked up because the rings on each cylinder had rusted. You can see it's kind of bad on that one right there. I haven't got the others out because I wanted to see if I could save the heads before I put all the work into it, but we'll see. Especially if this video starts getting some attention, we might just go through it anyways and buy a new set of heads just to make it run. But I think I'm gonna try and hone it with the either a dinglerball hone from Harbor Freight or one of their stone scrapers. But I mean, the rest of this motor looks pretty solid. I mean, that rust right there is just from where I've cleaned it to inspect it and didn't spray anything on it. So the cranks are actually in nearly perfect condition. I just gotta polish them. But I don't know, I think it's worth saving, especially if I can make make a couple videos on it, boost my content. Don't worry, I got plenty of stuff on the way. Okay, so this just got a lot more expensive. Like I said, the motor locked up with rusted rings. and I just snapped one in half trying to get it off the good, clean piston. But the oil control ring came out just fine, which this is a really interesting design. I've never seen an oiled ring that works like that. I don't know if that's just some old school stuff or if it's something different for diesel motors. But it's like there's no spacer, it's just one big ring. Then it had this cable thing wrapped around it. I mean, showing how much I know. I've never worked on this style of motor before. Anyways, moving on.